everybody. Welcome to today's show. I am beyond thrilled to bring a different type of show today as we have the co-founder, Lynn Husum. Correct, Lynn? Did I say that correctly? Excellent.
Yep.
The co-founder with her husband, Harold, of Appaman, which is an amazing children's wear brand that actually my kids wore when they were younger. And I was so excited to know that Lynn was behind it. And we'll find out a little bit about our history during the interview. But why I felt it was important to have Lynn on to talk about Appaman is because they had a very exciting launch that we're going to find out about. And that is that they just launched Appaman Adaptive. And it's very important, I think, for our shows to not only talk about the community and the people that are in the community, but companies that are working to make life better for people with disabilities. And Appaman is certainly one of those companies. And I felt that I needed to get a little sparkle on today to interview Lynn. So with that, Lynn, thank you for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about how Appaman started, a little bit about your journey? I know that you actually didn't start out wanting to be a fashion mogul. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to. Thank you so much for having us here. We're such huge fans of both Gamut and Runway of Dreams. Really inspiring stuff. Yeah, our journey is definitely not a typical one. I started off my working life as a family nurse practitioner. And when I first came to New York, I worked for an organization called AHRC, which is an organization that works with all different types of disabilities. So I was providing healthcare to them, like as their primary care provider. So that was a great position. And then after a few, my husband was a graphic designer, and after a few years in the business, he kind of was like flirting around with different ideas in fashion, because he was always big into fashion. And one day he just woke up and was like, I'm going to do it. And I was like, what? And he was like, oh, that idea we were talking about over brunch a couple months ago. And I was like, okay.
A lot of important things happen over brunch.
Yeah, exactly. So he started screening t-shirts in our 600 square foot apartment in Brooklyn. And then he went door to door to children's clothing stores trying to sell these goods. And it's too charming for the stores to say no. So all these baby stores started placing orders with him, and that's how Appaman was born. And then, t-shirts led to jackets, which led to pants, and 17 years later, we're a full-scale children's clothing company, selling all over the country, online, and, in a handful of countries worldwide. So it's been an incredible journey. After about 4 or 5 years of the company, I stopped being a nurse practitioner and came on board on the company because there was just so much work, and we were still kind of doing it on a shoestring budget. And I just found the whole game of wholesale so exciting, and I really enjoyed it, and I loved the community. And so it felt like a natural fit. So we've been working together for years now. And I was always, we have divided roles, coming together at home. We have 2 daughters. And so it always like felt right and kind of worked. And then one of our big customers is Zappos. We sell quite a bit of our sportswear to Zappos, and they're incredible partners. And they do these all hands meetings a few times a year. And last spring was the first time they invited vendors like Appaman to one of these all hands meetings. And I went with our rep from LA, and it was such an incredibly inspiring day. I mean, I cried through the whole thing. It was like one inspirational speaker after the next. And there seemed to be this running theme of adaptive going through it. It was right around the time that Zappos had launched their adaptive collection on Zappos, and which they pull from other retail, other manufacturers around the country, and they create this collection of adaptive clothing and shoes. And so they spoke to that a little bit, but this all hands meeting is really not about business. It's really about inspiration and inspiring their staff. Zappos has just a phenomenal culture.
Agreed. And I think
so,
to the culture of their company, I've also been privileged to be at the all hands meeting, and it really is about the people versus the company necessarily. Yes. And I think that is, definitely speaks to the brand of Zappos.
Yeah, and it spoke to me as one of their manufacturers. So we sat through these inspirational speakers talking about different things and solving different problems in for different people, like kind of for the greater good. And it was really, and I'm sitting there thinking, in like this adaptive Zappos situation is kind of flirting in my head, and I'm listening to all this and thinking, and I'm thinking back on my old job and the patients I used to have, and it's like all just bringing up an incredible amount of feels for me. And after the day was over, they had this incredible party out on the lawn in front of the convention center, and there was food trucks and bars, and everybody's shaking hands and talking and blah, blah, blah. And it was all culminating with this fashion show. And I wasn't really so certain what the fashion show was, but my rep was like, oh, we got to watch the fashion show. And I was like, yeah, duh. So we go over to this fashion show. It's this huge runway, this massive setup, really impressive. And the models start coming out one after the other, and they are just so full of life and joy. It was like nothing I'd ever seen before. Like,
and all the models,
like blinged out prosthetics. Yes, all different, like blinged out prosthetics and wheelchairs and all different limb differences and adults and children with Down syndrome. It was such a celebration of life, and everybody was walking that runway like they owned it. And I was just like tears streaming down my face. And then it ends with this firecracker coming on stage in this incredible outfit and telling her story. And I'm listening and I'm recognizing this voice, and I'm like, wait, what did she say her name was? And my rep was like, I don't know, Mindy something. And I was like, oh my God, that's Mindy Menkowitz. And I was like, I went to college with her, and I hadn't seen her since freshman year, and I transferred. So I never saw her again, never spoke to her again, but I was like, I know her. And then fashion show, they had an adaptive tent, and all the models retreated over there, and Mindy was over there, and I told my rep I need to go over and meet her. And by the way, we're so doing this. And she's like, what do you mean we're doing this? And I was like, we're doing this. I am so on board. I am creating this line for Appaman. We are transferring our clothing to make it adaptable and make it inclusive, because this is something I want to be a part of. This is so positive. And so I walked over and I tapped Mindy on the shoulder. Meanwhile, Mindy was getting her picture taken with every single model there. It was like full rock star moment. I was like, this is the best. And she turns around, immediately recognizes me. And it was so exciting. What are you doing here? Oh my God. Both of us were like flipping out. And I just hugged her and I said, this is amazing. And what you're doing is so that we're on board. And you were like, what do you mean you're on board? And I was like, we're on board. We're doing this. And she said, we're what? What are you talking about? And I was like, I have a clothing company and I am going to be your next adaptive line. And it was so, I don't know. I don't think I felt that kind of inspiration in years. It was so, I went to bed with the biggest smile on my face, and I was so excited to come home and tell my team. And it also, it like took off like a helium balloon in my office. They were so excited too. Everybody was on board and they couldn't wait to meet Mindy. And we all watched your TED Talk, and it just changed the culture in our office.
I love that. I'm just going to pause there for 1 second, because I think that you're hitting on a lot of important points here. The first one is that classically, nobody thinks that the fashion industry does anything. We don't, cure diseases, and we don't, send people to the moon, and etc. But this was a moment, and I've heard this from, other brands that I've worked with, that they feel that they can actually make a difference in people's lives while they live it. And that there is something very powerful about clothing, which is how I started my whole journey with Oliver, because he communicated how important it was to him to have choices in what he wears. And so to fast forward, to have that feeling translate to you and your team and your brand is exactly why this is so important. And so this was actually a year ago, almost to the day, which is so exciting that we're talking now, because not only did Lynn go back to her team and stick to her word that they were doing this, but I think that we had a meeting probably the week after we got home from Vegas. Like, she was guns a-blazing, no joke. We were starting. And what is so wonderful about the process that Appaman took is that they knew, and Lynn, you can expand upon this, that they needed to do this with the population, and that they didn't just want to assume that they could figure it out, the best way to make clothing adaptive. And this is something that we talk a lot about, is that there really isn't a designer on the planet, myself included, who can design for people with disabilities without including people with disabilities in the process. Yeah. And that's exactly what you did. Can you take us back to when, we did have our first meeting, you knew, and we discussed that you needed to understand this population first and foremost, that, you wanted we collectively decided that starting with a focus group to bring in kids with all different types of disabilities, to meet with the team, to meet with your designers, so that we could, quote unquote, get to know each other. Because if you don't have this in your life, it's something that you really, like any target market, right? You have to understand your target
market. So
much
you don't think about when you're not used to caring for someone that has specific needs.
Exactly. So take me back
like becoming a parent. You understand it until you have your own kids.
Exactly. So take me back to that day when I brought in, I think we had probably about 5 or 6 kids with all different disabilities, ranging from limb difference to neuromuscular diseases to cognitive issues. And we really just had an open forum. They told you about their lives, their stories. We had mothers and caregivers there. And just share a little bit about what that felt like, not only for you, but for the team.
Yeah. So we had, after I came home from the all hands, I talked to my whole team. And like I said, everybody was so on board. And then I called you, and you helped us arrange for a focus group. We had a couple internal people that we invited that we knew through friends and family, and you brought a handful of kids and their parents, and it was really all different ages. And so it was like this really great melting pot in our office. And I invited my staff, and I just said, anybody that wants to come to this meeting can. There's no limit. Like, I don't care if you're customer service or if you're wholesale accounts. If you want to be in on this, I want you there. Because it was all about the spirit of inclusion. And that is what this line is about, is the spirit of inclusion. We want to be part of that journey for you. And so we kept that whole idea through the whole thing. So we invited our staff to come to the meeting, and we basically, like you said, we listened to their stories, which were all very, very interesting. Each parent and child kind of explained their needs and what they like and what they don't like in fashion, and what is a problem for them and what is uncomfortable for them, and also like what they need to make something easier. And I think it was, for a lot of these kids, it's about the independence. And I think you speak to this in your TED Talk, is about being able to go to the bathroom without someone helping, or being able to, have loops on the side of the pants to help pull them up in an easier fashion. And, to give people integrity. So we spoke we were creating for spring summer and kind of let them look around, and it was really fun because some of the kids definitely had true interest in fashion, so they were, oh, I like this, I like that pattern, I like this. And so it came pretty clear by the end of the conversation what were kind of the crowd pleasers. And then over the next couple of weeks we worked internally just to kind of single out a handful of pieces. Rome wasn't built in a day, so we knew we had to make this a capsule collection to start and see how it took off and kind of get the feedback. We knew that there would be a lot of feedback from the community to tell us what works, what doesn't, and then with the hope that every season that we would add on products and new bodies to expand upon it, based on what was needed and what was missing. And we also included Zappos in this conversation because they had kind of like, I think about an 18-month start on us. Mm-hmm. So they knew from population data and doing research on what was selling, what they needed. And they spoke to us and basically said, what we're really missing is like milestone pieces. Like these kids have every bit the same milestones that any kid has. Yeah. And they need a suit for graduation, and they need a suit for confirmation or a bar mitzvah or whatever it is. And that's what Appaman does best. We do beautiful suiting and beautiful kind of better boys and girls wear. And so that's what we wanted to offer. We feel like there's other brands, and we are so happy to be part of this family but other brands are bringing kind of loungewear and t-shirts and sweatpants. And that's fabulous because who doesn't want that? But we don't need to add on to something that's already being offered. We want to offer something that's not out in the marketplace and that there's a need for. Absolutely. And so that's where we try to focus on wovens and kind of nicer, more tailored product. Going to dinner with grandma, going to the country club, just regular weekly events plus the big milestones.
Absolutely.
So, but we added some. Yeah, we added some
milestones are so important.
Sportswear for fashion.
Yeah. Milestones are so important because clothing plays such a critical role in that, right? And that is something that can define you to the world. If you have something big in your life, like a bar mitzvah or a graduation or anything, and you show up with clothing that's not appropriate for that, that is emotionally difficult, confidence-wise, self-esteem-wise, and you are making that change happen. So, and I think you have a couple pieces with you today that maybe you could show us.
Yeah. I didn't bring up a suit because I think the suit is hard to see. It's dark and you can't see the details. So, but
we'll have a link to the line for everybody at home, so you can just click on where to go.
Yeah. So this is a really popular piece that we have in our mainline collection as well. And these are called our beach pants. It's like a really nice kind of linen-y fabric, and the inspiration from these was kind of like family photos on the beach when everybody's together and they're all wearing khaki and white tops, that kind of thing. So we have a beach pant and we have a beach shirt, and the beach shirt is also part of Adaptive. I believe it comes in white and it's got Velcro closures, and it's a really wonderful crinkle gauze fabric. It's fabulous. And so, but these are the pants. And so what we've done, as you can see, it definitely has the appearance just like our regular line that was super important to both kids and parents. We've added these loops that go inside. I don't know if you can see, and they help pull the pants up. And then we also have adjustable waist on the inside. Oh, here. So you can make the pants tighter around the waist with an internal waistband, because we don't love the idea of like an elastic dress pant. I know some people are okay with that, but we would like to not do that. So we have internal waistband that you can adjust to make it. And then you have the button, but it's a hook and loop closure. And we worked with Velcro because they're the best in the business. And we got medical grade hook and loop, or Velcro as they call. And they were amazing. They were so excited to be a part of this with us, and it was a really wonderful experience to work with them. They came to our offices and showed us millions of different types of hook and eye that they sell, and we settled on something that we were really pleased with. And it's quiet, it's got nice open enclosure, but it's still and it'll work after washing and all of that. And then we also added openings on the leg for AFPs and prosthetics. And we've already, like these are 5-inch long, but we've already extended them to be 7 inches for next season from original feedback we got back. So we are open to feedback. We are open to suggestions, and we want to hear from the population and whoever is the consumer. You know, we want to partner on this. Like I said, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Absolutely. And speaking of partnerships, that's, you know, the beautiful part of this journey is that we were able, through Gamut and Runway of Dreams being our nonprofit partner, to be able to support Appaman, to help guide them on every step of the process of what it takes to make something adaptive, because it's more than just the clothing, right? We have to think about the website and the copy and the photo shoots and the models and everything like that. And that's the beautiful part of all this, is that we can support each other, that we can bring our expertise to your expertise. And it goes throughout the whole system, right? Because as you just mentioned, the hook and loop, Velcro, they were so excited about this because we are now helping everyone. And every single body type out there can hopefully wear the same type of clothes as everyone else. And that is so critical. I mean, I do say this in my TED Talk, but clothing equals confidence. It does. It's
totally
actual fact, and there's a psychological name for it called enclosed cognition. And now you guys, through Appaman Adaptive, are helping kids of all abilities be able to feel so good about themselves and what they wear, and be able to dress themselves independently. And I think that is so exciting and tremendous. And that's why we just couldn't wait to have you on the show, as the line, by the way, everybody, just launched on March 30th. It can be found on Zappos Adaptive, as well as Appaman's site, which is appaman.com. And we'll have all that's right for you below. But again, it becomes so much bigger than the clothing. And I think that you have received already, in a very short amount of time, some unbelievable feedback about what this has meant to people out there that have seen what you guys have done. So maybe you could read us a little bit of that feedback.
Yeah, we got an email last night that was so touching, and I'm happy to share it. So we sent out an email just to our email list from the company, you know, not knowing, not like a targeted email list, just like our regular emails, just to announce the launch of the line. And we got this back from one of our consumers, and they said, I just want to say how grateful I am for this email. My daughter has special needs, and we love this brand, but now I love this brand even more. Thank you for raising the bar to be inclusive, and for thinking about all kids who need cute clothes regardless of their ability. This makes me so happy to see what you're doing for the greater good. I mean, I don't know this woman, and I know, it was just like so sweet. And we got numerous ones like that. It was really an exciting moment. And we just hope that continues.
It will. And we have to say, certainly on behalf of the population, and including myself and my family, thank you. Thank you for seeing this as something that you had to do. And it's a business opportunity, and it's something that Appaman believed in, and you made it happen. And now here we are talking about the line that's out there. So you are going to make a difference in millions of kids' lives, and we are so grateful for that. And that's why we're just thrilled to have you on the show. And please thank everybody at the company for all the time and energy that they've spent on this. And this is going to be a big part of who you are as a brand, and what you will mean to people's lives. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. We so hope it gets received as well as much as we love it. We just hope it gets received the same way to the greater population. It's just been a labor of love.
Exactly. Now, before we go, I'd like to ask all of my guests. I am a huge believer in a vision board, and what I have things on there that I believe will happen in my lifetime, people that I'll meet, or things that I intend to do. By the way, doing a show is on my vision board, so yay, that's happening. On your vision board, and I'm going to go specifically to the world of adaptive, what would be your hope and your dream for Appaman Adaptive? Where is it going?
I just wanted to touch the lives it needs to reach. I really, truly do. I want to get awareness. As people know we're out there. We're a small company in the grand scheme of things, and I just hope that that families around the country find out about this and are excited about this and become part of our community, because we want to help them, and we want them to wear the clothes and enjoy them and feel good about themselves. It's just like, it's just come so full circle for us, and we're so excited about this, and it feels so good. I just want it to continue that. And especially when everybody needs
you. And it's going to happen. It's happening. How about that? It's happening.
I know, right?
So that is tremendous. So thank you again, Lynn, so much for joining us today. And we will have all the links to get to Appaman Adaptive posted on our site. And if you would like to be on the Gamut Network, please email us at talent@gamutmanagement.com to tell us your story and why you would be a great guest. So thank you so much, Lynn. I love seeing you.
Thank you, Mindy. It was great to see you. Thank you. Take care.
Bye.